What's up guys, and welcome to another video, and today we are going to be talking about basically the next main game in the Pokemon series, because it seems about the right time to do so, mainly for two reasons. I mean, a couple of days ago, there was this, report / leak online that was from supposedly, or most likely, because it was a fairly credible source, a fairly credible site, in which case most sources on the site are fairly reliable, not 100% reliable in some cases. But this came from a Nintendo employee who worked in the marketing division apparently, and it was basically a list of 3DS games, I think it was just 3DS, that were lined up to come out for the rest of this year basically, and they were in three categories. There was like spring, summer, there was like fall or whatever, and there was holiday sort of area. And on this list, in the fall holiday section, there was a listing for Pokémon Niji, or something along those lines. I can't speak Japanese, you guys know this. Basically, Niji, or one of the translations of Niji, is rainbow. So Pokemon Rainbow. Since it's a fairly credible source, it would indicate there is a Pokemon game coming out late, in this year, fall holiday time. Looking at previous releases of Pokemon games, you can get some idea if this is likely. I mean, the previous main series games we're looking at here, Oras was released November 2014, as we know. XY, the year before, October 2013, all on the same day, thank you very much. Then the year before that, we had Black 2 and White 2. Now, obviously, before Generation 6, we didn't really have global releases. They were more Japan, there we are. Japan got the games, and then a couple of months later, we got the translated versions, because translation took a bit of time apparently. And obviously, these gaps used to be bigger in the past, but for Black 2, White 2, Japan got the games in June, and then the rest of the world got them in October, so, like 4 months translation time there. Before that we had Black and White. They came out September 2012, September 2010. September 2010 was Black and White, and then the rest of the world got it March 2011, but the original date release was, September 2010. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, September 2009 for Japan. Platinum, September 2008 for Japan, and then Diamond and Pearl, September 2006. So apparently they like releasing them in September, at least in Japan, and obviously you see that's been shifted a bit back when we had the worldwide releases, October for X and Y, and then November for Oras. So fall holiday makes a lot of sense for a main series Pokemon game. If it were to come out in October or November, it's out in time for Christmas, so you get all the Christmas stuff like that. And I'm assuming there's some reason why they like releasing games in September for Japan. Maybe, I don't know what the school system's like over there. Maybe they don't have, it's not like September to June more. Maybe it's, September's like when they have a couple months off. I don't know. But there might be a reason for that. Anyway, fall holiday makes a lot of sense with when the games have been coming out recently. I would slate Pokemon Niji or Pokemon Rainbow to have sort of an October/November 2016 release. Now, the second bit of little information or thing that might suggest to us we're going to be hearing some more about the game soon is that there is a new Pokemon Direct that will be happening soon. On Friday the 26th of February, this month, in 2 days' time, we will have a Pokemon Direct. It will be at 7 AM Pacific time or 3 PM Greenwich Mean Time, so that's, I think that's something like 10 AM for East Coast, I've got to remember my north, east, south, west. East Coast of America will be about 10 AM in the morning, and obviously 3 PM for Europe, or 4 PM for Europe, 3 PM for UK, etc. And it will be about 5 minutes in length, and it will be 5 minutes of short video. Now, bearing in mind, I think it's February the 27th is Pokemon Day, is the official day, I think, for 20 years of Pokemon. That's the official anniversary day, so having a Pokemon Direct the day before makes a lot of sense. Now, what does this actually mean in terms of what we're going to get, Well, the most likely thing is obviously a trailer for the next main series Pokemon game, which we'll talk more about in a minute. However, you could also, it might be some sort of hype video where, they just go over the history of Pokemon, a couple, just going through each game, not like a presentation, but more like a little trailer sort of thing, and then that might lead into a tease, or at least a tease, if not a bit more, about the next series Pokemon game. So be sure to keep tuned on 26th, because that is going to be a big day. Hopefully the game will get announced. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of footage, or at least something to do with the game, a bit of explanation about what it's about, something along those lines, because that would be quite nice. And obviously keep tuned to this channel, because I will be covering it when the information goes live. So now let's actually talk about what this next main series game will be. Obviously, as you can tell by the sort of the name of this video, the sort of what everyone's been using to refer to this supposed next game as, Pokemon Z, Pokemon Z, whichever one you want to prefer, seems the most likely. We had X and Y not 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 2 years ago actually. My bad. Yeah. No wait, 3 years ago. 2013. I can't read my dates. Almost 3 years ago now. But X, Y, and then Z would seem the most likely. We also had Zygarde revealed and had a bit of work on since those games came out, as well as the anime now moving into XYZ. So it's actually added the Z on the anime, so it would be a bit weird for them just to sort of completely gloss over it and act like it's not part of the game series. So Pokemon Z would be the most likely, I guess you could say. Obviously it doesn't necessarily have to be Pokemon Z, it could be something like Pokemon XZ and YZ, X to the Z and Y to the Z, X squared, Y squared, you know, you guys get the idea. Or maybe it might be a single game that's Pokemon XYZ. I doubt that, but it's possible. And obviously the reason there might be 2 games rather than 1 is because Pokemon always likes to get as much money as they can, and over the years they've realised, hey wait, a lot of people buy both the games. So if we just release 1 game, we're going to make sort of like X sales. If we release 2 games, we're going to make those X sales soon, also as well, because obviously the people that were going to buy the game, yet they're going to buy a game, might not buy both of them, but buy one at least. And then obviously there's the people that will want both games, so say that's about, I don't know, it might not be a huge amount, but let's say it's 25% of the people that buy it. So you got X plus another 0.25x, and obviously X is a very big number here. It might only be 25% of the people that buy the games buy both games, but that's an extra 25% profit basically, I guess, income, revenue, etc. So they might well release 2 games. We've had X and Y. Well, starting actually, we had Platinum was the last single game, you know. Since then we had Heart Gold Soul Silver, Black and White, Black 2, White 2, and then X, Y, and ORAS. So there's 2 games for each sort of set, I guess. Each installment there's been 2 versions. So it may be likely that we'll get another X2, Y2, whatever you want to call it. It's likely that might happen, and what that game might cover is just, it might be like X and Y in Kalos, maybe expand the area a bit, because I think X and Y has just been the northern area of Kalos. I think there is a southern Kalos, sort of beneath the mountain range, where there might be some extra areas there. So it's possible that the main game might be based in southern Kalos, and then you could move into northern Kalos for the after game, or vice versa. You know, once you finish the main game, it's like, oh, do you want to come take a trip on this train or over the mountains or whatever? It's a possibility, of course. So that's what that might sort of influence. One thing I did forget to say is Pokemon Rainbow being the name for the next game is not necessarily the name for the next game. I want to make that very clear. Don't think just because it's listed on this list of new games apparently that it will be the name. The way Nintendo, or most companies really, they will codename things. They won't say, oh yeah, this new game is Pokemon this and this and this, and put it all down on one sheet. They will codename it and it'll be Pokemon something. The people that need to know what it is will know what it is. You know, and generally people, it's not like Nintendo walks around their main areas going, oh, we got Pokemon, you know, what this you know. They don't walk around and openly discuss projects with people that aren't working on the projects, for example. So majority of people in Nintendo may not know what the next Pokemon game will be. People might be working on it, you know, you might have a team working on sprites for the Pokemon game, but they might, you know, not know any more than that. They might, you know, be working on models and sprites and cutscenes, but apart from that, they might not know the name of the game, they might not know anything, they might just have the code name, which for this, you know, well, the case they've chosen to put down on this list of things, Pokemon Niji, Pokemon Rainbow, whatever. And obviously it helps here. In cases like this, where there is a leak, it's damage control basically. So if they'd put the actual full name of the game down here, everyone on the internet right now, we'll be talking about how Pokemon Z or Pokemon whatever will be coming out as the next Pokemon game. However, all we have is this code name, supposedly. So we don't really know. We haven't got too much. There's not been a huge amount of discussion about it. Yes, we know there's a new main series game coming out this year, because it would be crazy for them to go 2 years without one. But we don't know the name of it. We have this code name. So it's damage control, basically. So that's why I'm discussing about what the game could be. It's not going to be Pokemon Rainbow. It's not likely to be Pokemon Rainbow, I should say, because it could be. But Pokemon Rainbow is most likely a code name. So what are the other options for this new game? Well, one idea that I've thrown about several times in my videos is something like Pokemon Delta Z, Pokemon, Delta Emerald, something like that, which would be a sequel to both X and Y and ORAS. It would work in the case of that, you might have Kalos as being the main series area. Then once you beat the Elite Four and all that stuff, you get shipped off to Hoenn, and you have another little storyline to go through and explore the region there. Because it has been a while since, a 2-region game. We had, obviously, Gold and Silver, the first 2 region games. When Fire and Leaf Green were remade, you had sort of the Seville Isles, which are extra sort of, I guess you could class that whole area as a new region. It wasn't, obviously a full region, but it was a new area added on to do in the after game, mostly, of course. Hoenn didn't have anything when it first came out, Ruby Sapphire Emerald, apart from the Battle Frontier and Emerald, which of course we still haven't seen. There was that tease to Battle Frontier and ORAS, and we have not heard any more about it since, so it's still a possibility we might return to Hoenn at some point and actually have the Battle Frontier there, but of course I'm just throwing ideas around here. But my point is, we haven't really had an after-game region in a while. Diamond, Pearl and Platinum had that separate island off the coast of Sinnoh that we had to explore. Hogwarts of Silver obviously had Kanto. Black, White, Black 2, White 2 were just all in the Nova. There was nothing extra there, apart from 1 or 2 areas, and obviously X and Y and ORAS, nothing sort of post-gamey there at all. So we are sort of, it's been a good 7 years almost since the last big game with 2 regions in it. So it may well have 2 regions in this new game, especially since the 20th anniversary games, and everyone knows, generally, I think the consensus is people enjoy games that have 2 regions in them. Take Gold, Silver, Crystal as the example in this case. But Pokemon Delta Z is very unlikely, however it's an idea I've thrown around before, so I thought I should mention it. Involving Kalos or Hoenn as the main game or the post game, whichever way around you want to see it. And the other reason I discussed that before is because obviously Zygarde and Rayquaza are very similar in appearance. They're both snake-like, they're both green. Rayquaza manages the ozone and the air and sort of the climate and stuff, whereas Zygarde deals with the ecosystem and the ground basically. So air and ground makes a lot of sense. That would be my linking there. So that's another possibility. However, since it is the 20th anniversary, you just got to remember what the anniversary is. It's the anniversary of Pokemon Red and Green coming out in Japan. Obviously, we had Red and Blue in the rest of the world. But it could also be a remake of Pokemon Red and Blue, or conversely Red and Green for Japan, which would be interesting. Okay? It would make a lot of sense. Fire and Leaf Green did come out a while ago, 2004 I think, so like 12 years. It has been a while, so we could very well have a new remake of those games. It is the 20th anniversary, so it would make a lot of sense. If they made it all nostalgic like, it would sell like hotcakes, because they've done, they got all this new promotion stuff for Pokemon 20 years, all that kind of fun stuff there. So Pokemon Red and Blue remake would make a lot of sense. However, there comes a trouble. In Japan they had Red and Green, in the rest of the world we had Red and Blue for whatever reason. I'm not sure Pokemon Blue has ever been released in Japan. It's a bit of a, I don't know, let me see, Pokemon Blue, Japan, let me see, Japanese, I guess it's been released? Looks like it has been released. Yes, okay. So, Blue was released, but it was like a second edition almost, I guess. It was released sort of after, Red and Green, yeah. It says here, Pokemon Blue was released in Japan on October 15th, 1996, exclusive to CoroCoro magazine subscribers, and it was actually in general retail in 1999. So yes, it came out later in 1996, sort of like an updated version, and then in 1999 is when it was actually first properly available as a minor revision of Pokemon Red and Green, which were released earlier that year. And it's the first solitary version of the core series Pokemon games because it was on its own, it wasn't like Red and Blue. So in Japan they have Red, Blue and Green, here we just have Red and Blue. So if they were going to remake those games for us, what would they remake them as? Would we get Red and Blue remakes? Would we get Red and Green remakes? Because obviously we had Fire Red and Leaf Green, those are Red and Green remakes. But for the rest of the world, if you think about it, what would, if you were someone who played Red and Blue when they were young as a kid, whatever, or you played particularly Blue as a kid, okay, and it's 20 years old, getting all hyped up, yes, and then boom, it gets released. They're remaking the original games, Red and Green, and it's then people that played Blue might feel a little robbed by it. Hopefully some of you guys understand what I'm getting at there. I think it would just be a bit tricky for the Pokemon companies to actually decide, because back when Fire and Leaf Green came out, as we know, translation still took a long time. It was probably about a year for translation when Fire and Leaf Green came out, so they weren't focused as much on the rest of the world. They were sort of more focused on Japan, but now we got worldwide release dates, we've got all that stuff. They might think about it a bit more, and it's just that it would be a hard choice to make. Do we remake Red and Blue? Do we remake Red and Green? Do we remake all three of them? What about Yellow as well? Yellow was almost, I don't want to say a classic, but it was a very popular game because obviously Pikachu followed you around, you had that interaction stuff. It is the 20th anniversary, Pikachu is the mascot for Pokemon basically. So again, they might think about, let's just remake Red, Blue and Yellow because those are the three games everyone knows about, but then Green for Japan. Who cares to get where I'm going hopefully with this. They could make Kanto remakes, is the thing. And you'd have Kanto as the region, and you might have some stuff to do after game, which leads me on to my next idea, which is something like Pokemon Z Red and Pokemon Z Blue. Again, it's a bit of a crazy idea, much like the Delta Z one. The idea would be having have Kanto and Kalos in one game. Kanto for all the nostalgia, so it might be the main region for that reason, and sort of act like it's Red and Blue. And then in the after game, you get shipped off to Kalos, and you have to deal with Zygarde there. That's a possibility. As I said, for the nostalgia factor, I wouldn't really expect it to be Kalos first, because then everyone wanting just to play Red and Blue again would just, go to Kanto, be like, I don't want to play this. I want to go to Kanto. So Kanto would most likely end up being the first region. But then again, people that want to play remakes of Red and Blue want to play the original games, but not the original games. They want to play a remake of the original games. However, if you throw in all these new Pokemon and this new region and all this new stuff like that, people might not like it as much. You got to think of it from the perspective of Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. They have to think, what's everyone else? What are people going to like? Obviously, they've probably done surveys in small groups, obviously mostly in Japan, because Japan is sort of the main area for development there. But you guys get the idea. They will have asked about it, and they will have got opinions and ideas. So, there's only one on the listing. There's only Pokemon Niji, but they could end up having several games. They could remake Red and Blue, and then they could announce the Red and Blue remakes. But they could also announce something like Pokemon Z as well. I don't know. It's all crazy, guys. There's loads of ideas throwing around. Of course, the code name could also not be a code name. It could be Pokemon Rainbow. Bit of a weird name, obviously. Not something people have expected. But it is the 20th anniversary, and Rainbow would kind of make a lot of sense, I guess. Again, you might have, Kanto and Kalos being the first region and the most recent region covered, something like that. And you also have to remember, Perfect Zygarde, remember? He has that little rainbow on his chest. It's not really a proper rainbow, there's only 3 or 4 colours on there, but it's still sort of rainbow-like. So Pokemon Rainbow could work into that somewhere, as an idea, of course. I don't think Pokemon Rainbow is very likely. I don't think Pokemon Z Red, Z Blue are very likely. They're a possibility though, I guess. Pokemon Delta Z, again, I don't think is very likely. We're sort of done with Hone now. We've been past that. We're talking about the 20th anniversary, so we want to, if anything, you want to have Kanto in there. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow remakes, I think they're fairly likely. However, I am unsure whether pure remakes are likely or the remakes are mixed into Pokemon Z somehow. I don't know quite. We're having Pokemon Red and Blue released on Virtual Console for 3DS, I believe, for the 20th anniversary. It's actually coming out on February 27th. So, then saying, we're actually going to remake the games as well, so give us more money. Yeah, that might not be the best idea. So they might sort of announce, or say, we're going to remake Red and Blue, and that'll be coming out next year. But then, but before that, you also have Z to quench your thirst or whatever. But yeah, in the end, I do think the most likely game that's going to be revealed on Friday is Pokémon Z, or a variation of that name, Pokémon XZ, YZ, etc. Of course, my opinion doesn't really matter in the end, because I do not work for Pokémon Company, except my dad does, obviously. Ha 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 ha, that's why I know everything I'm saying. I'm joking. This is all opinionated, guys. This is just my ideas. I'm throwing them out there. What I want to know, though, is what do you think, you know? Do you think we're going to get Pokémon Z on Friday, or do you think 5 minutes is just too short, apparently, for a little trailer to play, and you think it's just going to be some random spin-off game and we're just getting too hyped up for anything? Of course, that could be the case. However, I do believe we're going to get a new main series game reveal, because it's high time. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Are we going to get Pokémon Z? Are we going to get Pokémon Delta Z? Are we going to get Red and Blue remakes? I don't know. These are just ideas. I'm throwing them out there. Tell me what you think, guys. You know, what would you like as well? Would you like to see Pokemon Red and Blue remakes? Want to see some pure remakes of those with all the 3D graphics and everything nice and fancy like that, just to get some nostalgia in there? Or would you like to see something like Pokemon Z, you know, and have a proper new game, I guess? Let me know down below, because I'm interested in what you think and want and say, as always. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, because of course, Pokemon something is coming out soon, or is being revealed soon, so let's get hyped for that, yeah guys? Alright, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.